Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to take a look at using velocity in Groove Quantize. So in the previous video we saw how you can take the timing of one MIDI part, import it into the Quantize panel and then use that to quantize other MIDI parts. But now we're going to look at using velocity as well. So here is our source part. In this case it's one of the grooves from Mars. Again, link is in the description of the video. These are these great captures of the timing of classic drum machines and sequencers, but it doesn't have any velocity information in there. I mean, obviously it does, but it's all 127, so effectively there's no velocity information of any worth in there. Now, in the case of a swung part, if we zoom in, we've got pairs of notes. So here's a pair, there's a pair. So the second one of each pair is late, but typically I would want the second one of each pair to also have a lower velocity, to be a quieter note. And that isn't the case here. And I want to apply that automatically mostly because I'm kind of lazy. So what we could do is we could go through and draw them all here, and it's a bit tedious and it's easy to make a mistake. I'd much rather automate the process. So to do that, what I want to use is the logical editor. Now, if you haven't used the logical editor before, I'd suggest you watch the other videos on the channel on it, because it's a really useful tool for automating tedious tasks. Any kind of boring donkey work, if you can work out a way for it to do it, it can do it quicker and better than you can. So things like randomizing velocities, creating all sorts of changes you can do with it. So check those videos out and then come back and watch this. But even if you don't know how to do it, if you follow what's on here, it will do the right thing. So what we want to do is we want to select these notes in particular positions in the bar. And if we do that, we can do that by position and then inside bar range. And we've got a problem, and the problem is we would need 8 ranges: this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and so on. So the second note of each pair of 8, which obviously is 8. That would be tedious. So we can get around that, and we can get around it by cheating. So the way that we do this is we change the bar length. So I'm going to change the bar length so it's an 8. So that's going to be a bar, and that's going to be a bar, and so on. This is really easy to do. So with Control T or Command T on a Mac, we do 1/8 here. So this is the tempo editor. So all we're doing is changing that. So that's 1/8, and now that's 1/8. You can see each one is a bar. So that was a bar there. So I'll just set the cycle range. So that was a bar. Now that was a bar. Yeah, so that was a bar there, and now that's a bar. So now when we go back to the logical editor, it's going to be possible to select just that one there, and we can see the divisions have changed, and I want it somewhere in the second half, so I'm just going to click like that. We're going to change the function here to select, because I don't want to do anything with it other than select them, and you see we've applied that there. So now close the logical editor. I'm going to zoom out, and we can see every other one has been selected. So it's probably borderline between the two, whether that would be faster or slower than doing it manually, but it's definitely more accurate, and it's also less tedious. And I think if you're not doing things which are tedious, you're much more likely to stay sort of in that bright, creative mindset rather than, I've done 500 of these, I'm really bored now. We can then just bring their velocities down, so I'm going to take them to about 100 or so. I'm also going to swap time signature back. So if we change back to 4/4, we can see now we're back to 4/4. And in fact, I've managed to select 3/4 of a bar. I'm sure I'll get comments of that, or 7/8 of a bar actually, wasn't it? But never mind. It didn't really matter. The point stands. So now we're back to 4/4. You can see nothing's changed. So the time signatures in Cubase really just show where Cubase thinks the bars are. It doesn't really matter in terms of the musical information most of the time. So it's not going to change what's being played back. It's just the divisions that it sees. So now what we want to do is just put a bit of randomness in here as well, because at the moment they're all the same. We've got 2 levels, but that's about it. So what we're going to do is use the logical editor again. First thing first, I'm going to give it a bit of headroom at the top. So select everything and then just move those down, and then back to the logical editor. Now we're going to make some changes. So I'm going to click on this second line and delete that. and we're going to change the function to transform, because this time I do want it to do something with the notes, and we're going to add an action target at the bottom if you haven't got one already, and we're going to change that to value 2, which is velocity in the case of a note, and then we're going to set relative random values between, so it's important that it's relative, not random. So we want to take those original positions, so we don't want to lose this information we've got, we just want to add a bit to it, and we're going to do -3 and 3. And there, now you can see those, I've got a bit of randomness to them. There's a bit more life in there, which is good. So now we're going to create that again. Just going to come out of there, I'm going to put it on 1-1 so you can see that we are actually creating that again. We don't see any difference in here, and we don't see anything in this display here. But what will happen, we open this up. Now, by default, nothing will change. So we can see if I apply this, it doesn't change. Just to show that it is actually being applied, I'll put it on 16ths, and you can see there's our rigid boring one, and here's our LM1 swung one, but we still don't get any change to the velocity, and the reason is the velocity's turned down. So if we put this to 100, and then press Q, now we get the velocity from our source part. So now we've got something which will play which is a little more interesting. Now, this doesn't work exactly the way that I would expect it to work. So what I would expect is this is the strength of it in terms of from where you were to where the groove is, but it doesn't work like that. I'll undo it. If I put it to 25%, and again, quantize, it works like that. So it's almost as if it's scaled from 0. I'm not exactly sure of how it works. It certainly doesn't work the way I expected it to work, because I thought it would be velocity kind of strength, like iterative quantize, but it doesn't work like that. But you can still get something worthwhile, and often if you've put the right kind of velocity levels into your part that you're taking the groove from, which most of the time you will do, then that will work anyway. So that is a look at how you can apply both timing and velocity from your groove that you've used to any MIDI part. And clearly you can see we've gone from something which was extremely boring. So there it was before. And then there it is now. So there you go. I hope that's been useful, and thanks for watching.